Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Moshe Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back. Today, we're happy to have the co-founder of Loops, Tom Laufer, on the show to talk about the product. How you doing, Tom?
Hi, it's great to be here. I'm doing well.
Hey, Tom. Hey, Matt. Really nice having you.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. So I'm the founder and CEO of Loops. Loops basically is a platform that helps product managers improve their KPIs by identifying concrete opportunities and actions from their data. So if you think about that, the way product managers today need to make a decision, let's say, for example, that they want to improve their retention, their second week retention. They face a real struggle, a real challenge, because they need to look at tons of dashboards, graphs, lines that go up and down, tons of data sources and data points. And we offer a bit different approach. Loops basically connects to your data, runs thousands of analysis and data science model, and provide you with a feed, like a news feed of concrete opportunities, hypotheses to improve those KPIs that you care about. And we kind of support you throughout the process of making a decision by showing you the analysis, showing you the hypothesis, even showing you specific actions that you can do with this hypothesis, and then measuring the effect of the actions that you took. By that, we basically close the loop.
Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting concept. And Matt and I, we watched a short demo on how it works or what are the features over there. And it goes really back to a lot of discussions we had in previous episodes, especially with product analytics, but also with A/B testing and other type of products, that there is so much data out there and there is so many systems that give you dashboards and give you like the analytics results. But to us product managers, what we really want is insights, is where do we have opportunities? What does the data tell us? Not all of us are data experts or want to spend a lot of time in the data. I know many of us do love that, but it's still kind of like it's driving what we have to do, but it's not the main thing that we're trying to do. So let's dive a bit more into that. But before that, maybe, how did you start it? How did you get to that?
Yeah, so I think, I felt this problem firsthand. I was leading growth analytics at Google. And I was basically in charge of driving growth for a product like Google Search, Google Assistant, Google Photos, Maps, and so on. And I was also serving as a growth advisor for many companies. And seeing how, they have so many dashboards, so many graphs, so many KPIs and segments. And, every time I got to a company, I asked them, what do you do with all those, data sources? And it wasn't very straightforward answer. I think this is where we came to a conclusion that we need to probably offer a different approach, a much more proactive kind of, push-based approach that would really empower the product managers to make decisions. Because otherwise, they collect so much data, but they're not really able to leverage it to basically to improve their KPIs.
So wait, did you use Google Analytics?
Google?
At Google, yes.
Yeah, I use many tools, but I also use Google Analytics indeed.
I mean, that's this is off topic, of course, but because Google Analytics, in my mind, it's always like it's not the best product for product managers, but that's a different topic.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Google Analytics could be useful for certain cases, but at the end of the day, it is part of the problem and not part of the solution in some cases, right? Because it shows you all those dashboards and graphs of the events, of the sessions, all those things, and eventually, what you want to do is to understand how I improve the user experience. How do I improve the product to improve those, retention, conversion, engagement, NPS, whatever you have there. And it's really hard to connect the dots, right, between all those dashboards to what you really care about.
Mm-hmm. So first of all, who are the intended users for Loops? Is it product managers or is it also other people?
So yeah, product managers are basically our main persona. We also have different types. Like growth product managers use us a lot. And also, I think we have many data teams actually use us. We actually empower also data teams to, to focus on the right opportunities. So they use Loops sometimes to go deeper in certain opportunities that and insights that were surfaced by our platform. So I think these are like both the product side and also the data team are using us, but eventually we're focusing on the product teams.
And while you were saying that, I was thinking about you, Matt, from the perspective of your passion to data and to data analytics, how cool something like that would be to get to the next step of insights and pushing those insights to you.
Yeah, this is really exciting because, there is one thing about having the charts and the graphs and then getting the insights, but I like the feature where it says, what kind of actions you can take, action recommendations. I noticed that as one of the features in Loops, where I think a lot of the problem we see in analytics and data teams across organizations is, okay, I have this now. What do I do with it? Like, where do I go with this? And I saw some recommendations in the tool where it said, hey, these are some other use cases for these insights. So I think that right there alone, hey, these typical insights are doing these types of things. So I was wondering, Tom, if you're able to elaborate on how you come up with those use cases, how the recommendations work.
Yeah, indeed. So eventually, let's explain a bit about the rationale. At the end of the day, what we are trying to do is to help product managers translate this hypothesis, those opportunities, into concrete actions, into something that they can actually go and test in their product. So what we do is that we provide curated list of in-context actions of what similar companies like you are doing in a similar situation. So if you discover by our platform that this is the combination of journeys of features that maximize the likelihood that this user is going to succeed with your platform, be it by conversion or retention, any kind of success, we actually provide you with those recipes of what worked for other companies in a similar situation, basically to inspire you to take action. The way we do that is basically by scanning tons of public data sources and basically provide, together with our recommendation engine, provide the right in-context actions to you. And I got to tell you, these are actions that also work for us. So these are real examples that are focused on inspiring the product managers to translate this hypothesis that they just discover to a real action.
That's really meaningful because I think of actionable analytics. I think a lot of the problem we have in the analytic field in terms of whether you're a data team, product manager, is just being able to deliver the insights, but then everyone wants to say, like, what do I do with this? How do I act on it? So I think what you're doing there is really cool.
It sounds really cool. And to me, it's as good as whatever other companies are putting out there. I mean, these sources of information you were talking about that you find are articles and things like that?
Many of those articles, they are like case studies, success stories. We actually collect things that our kind of research folks are doing. So it's based on various sources, as I said, including things that work for us. Obviously, we don't share the exact recipes that work for our customers, but these are kind of use cases that work for other companies in a similar situation and can kind of help you, I think, to think about what you can do with this action, make it, I think, much more tangible than just this kind of hypothesis that you have at the moment.
And also learn from others that have done it before. And I'm sure that this can also grow in the future where your own users, once they have success stories, they can share it with the community.
Indeed. I think, going forward, we're actually thinking of this feature or journey as a kind of as a network effect itself, because you are able to share your success stories, and by that bringing more users to this community, so you can actually learn from what worked for other companies and other colleagues in a similar situation.
Right. Yeah, so it's a virtuous cycle of just like compounding these recommendations over and over. Like, hey, these people were successful. Let's put it into the engine. And then the next person that comes along says, oh, okay, they were successful doing this. So very cool.
Exactly. And I think, Matt, this is, we interviewed, I think, 400 companies when we kick off. And we've seen that that's basically what, in many cases, product managers are looking for, right? Like they try to understand, those best practices, those things that work for other companies. And I think that's a real kind of need that was surfaced by our users during our research as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting because when I'm thinking about the trial team on the product team, the product designers and developers have for years now all of their resources on how other people are doing things and sharing the architecture and whatever. Designers have patterns and they can do competitive analysis and they can look into sources. Product managers don't have a lot of these things. We tend to kind of blindly try to do things, right?
Or intuition, right? You're just trying to.
Well, yeah, we need to do a lot of testing and stuff like that, and we rely on the help of UX and technology for that. But definitely, if we can learn from curated resources like that, what was working for other people and areas of opportunities, then for sure that can be a good source. Let's go back maybe to how do you analyze the data and create those insights, and then how does that connect with those with those recommendations? Because before you even can give a recommendation, how do you associate that recommendation with a specific insight for that particular situation of a client?
Yeah, so let's kind of start from scratch the way it works. So we connect to your data. Usually we connect to your data warehouse, those cloud data warehouse solutions like BigQuery, Redshift, Snowflake, but we also have integration with other analytics solutions like Mixpanel, Amplitude, and the rest. And then we start mapping the data. Our platform starts mapping the data by the different kind of the KPIs, the different features, events, and all those things. And once we do that, our platform starts running thousands of analysis and models. And when it finds an interesting opportunity, a real opportunity, with a significant level, statistical significant level, it basically surfaces this opportunity to the feed. And once you see an opportunity there, based on the type of opportunity, for example, activation is kind of something that we deal with a lot, right? So what set up user for success? What are the things that the user needs to go through in order to succeed? So once you identify this kind of journey of those things, our platform also try to identify what are the type of actions that are relevant for your vertical as well. So at the end of the day, what you are getting is the analysis, which basically was the reason why we are showing this kind of hypothesis, and then also the action itself. That the type of actions that you can do with this. Then you are seeing this kind of action, and then you can go ahead and actually take the action, which we'll measure later on.
And I'm sure there is a lot of AI behind the scenes that you use for that.
Indeed, we use a lot of machine learning models. I think what we really double down on is our causal inference model. So many of the analysis of the tools that are out there are basically based on correlation, on different types of correlation. And as you know, I think they teach you in the first lesson of statistics that the correlation is not causation. Yes. And in many cases, what we see out there is that product managers are making decisions based on correlation, which, by the way, can sometimes be useful, but in many cases can be misleading. And I think what we really double down on is those causal inference models that we basically, to put it in a simple word, we basically run a simulation of A/B tests without A/B tests to help you identify what actually led from causality perspective to an increase in a certain KPI and not just correlation.
And I also want to note that you guys don't store any client-side data. So I noticed that was one of the points on the site was, you hook up to the data warehouse, but you're not storing any of the data privacy and stuff like that when you're running these models is very important to the company.
Indeed, I think you talked about it also in your previous episode in terms of the need to instrument the data, right? To send the data. It's always a challenge, especially the fact that it requires a lot of R&D resources. I think we are taking a very different approach. We connect to your data and we run in your environment. So it makes it easier both from integration perspective, we are a no-code solution, and also from a privacy perspective where we don't store the user level data. And how those things are important these days for the companies that we work with. Eventually, at the end of the day, we are dealing with user data. So this is obviously very sensitive for that.
Expand on that a bit more when you're saying it's running on the client environment. So this is like they have to install it somewhere and then connect it with their own data sources?
No, so usually we get access, we get account in their data warehouse or the data analytics solution. So they don't need to install anything. They just get us access. Think about it like we were data science of the company. So we get access there, and then our platform kind of starts running in this environment. And obviously, what we store at the end of the day is those aggregated metrics of the opportunities that I referred to earlier.
I see. Interesting. Now, you also mentioned that you have direct integration with some systems like product analytics. What's usually people prefer, to do it through the warehouse so everything is already in one place, or to actually connect with their different sources?
It varies. I think in some cases we connect to solutions like, as I said, like those analytics solutions. But at the end of the day, our recommendation is eventually the warehouse. The warehouse is the best place to run those analyses. Is this kind of one source of truth where you basically pull the data from the different kind of sources into one place, and that basically enable us first to see much more data than all those silos, and also to see kind of cross data sources inside. So something you see in your transaction data, in like your revenue data, you're able to suddenly connect it to your usage data, or like to connect, if you think about it, connect certain things for your customer success platform, or even from your qual data to your analytics solution. So we usually recommend, and this is, I think that the lion's share of our customers are actually focused on the data warehouse integration. I think, and that's what we also think is the best practice here. And we are seeing this trend. We have even companies working with us around, let's say, around A or so, quite early, and still they already have data warehouse. Something that, by the way, that I couldn't say 5 years ago. But nowadays we see that more and more companies have data warehouse, and we are obviously leveraging it for seamless integration and to start showing value quite fast.
Yeah, that's interesting, because that's what Moshe and I have talked about on other shows, where you not only want to get insights from the tool, but you want to be able to layer it into other aspects of your organization, other data elements in your organization, so you can get a much better picture of your customers. It's so much more powerful in the stack of tools when it works so well with other things in the organization.
Yeah, I think it's still a process, but what we are still seeing, among companies, that you have one piece of the product, the data in one area, one piece of the data you have in like this kind of like data warehouse, other like kind of the backend, that's the server kind of side events are like in another area. All those silos really make it hard for product managers to make really basically create insights. Yep. Because you only see kind of the part of the picture when you look at just one data sources. And I think this is where it becomes interesting and important to connect all those data sources into one place and to really understand the full picture, because otherwise, we try to surface the most important opportunities. And it's hard to say that you see the most important opportunity when you see only part of the picture. So I think this is where it becomes even more interesting.
I also want to talk about the topic of the growth map. I saw that in the demo as well. I think that's really interesting, because it sounds like it gives you a bird's eye view of everything going on within the tool and within the experiments you're running and so on and so forth. So I was wondering if you're able to elaborate on the growth map.
Yeah. So again, maybe starting with the rationale. Eventually, what we are seeing among companies, every time we start working with the company, with the product managers, I ask them, okay, so what kind of KPIs you want to move? And obviously, they answer, various types of KPIs, right? They have their engagement, retention, time to complete certain tasks. They have feature adoption. They have NPS. They also want to look at things like conversion. There's so many metrics out there. All of them are affecting your business. All of them are affecting your North Star metric, your top line metrics. And what we provide is really this bird's eye view of all your KPIs, all your most important ones. And we help you identify how you're growing and where you're growing. We include things like your trends and anomalies. And this is kind of one central place where you can see which opportunities you currently have on which one of those KPIs, where you stand versus your goal. So product managers are using this map on weekly basis to basically understand where they need to focus on. Their backlog is huge. The R&D team is always limited, and we connect those opportunities to the KPIs and help them prioritize, which is obviously one of their biggest challenges these days.
Is this growth map also using the machine learning to come up with its map, or is it kind of stitching things together from other features within the tool?
So the way it works, like as part of the onboarding process, we identify your KPIs and so on, and our platform kind of creates this after you complete onboarding, but also the customer is able to identify and customize this growth map for their own needs. We do use some kind of models there to identify where they need to focus on in terms of things like anomalies and trends, and where there are kind of hidden areas that they might be missing that they don't look at these days.
Very good. I think Moshe and I always talk about being product centered. So I know that that's a topic that we often talk about, whether you're sales driven, product driven. How do you see the company at Loops? Are you a product centered company?
I think at this stage we are definitely not sales oriented. I think we are very product. I think we're very product centric in a sense, or even more than that. I think we're very customer centric. As I said beginning, I think by now we interviewed roughly more than 400 companies, more than 400 product teams to try to really identify their needs. They have so many platforms and so many data points, and we want to make sure that we are not another platform there that they are not able to use. So I think this is where we invest a lot, and our team meet our customers quite regularly, try to identify their problems, their needs, together with our quant data. I think we are really trying to get also the insight for ourselves, talking about insights, and to basically use that to define our roadmap. So I think at this point we are very product focused to make sure that we integrate in this weekly routine of the product managers.
Are you able to mention any of the current customers you may have, or any of the use cases that they may have right now of using the tool?
Yeah, I think there are roughly two types of customers that are using us. So first, there are like those B2C apps, those consumer apps that are using us. Think about verticals like entertainment, utility, productivity apps, education, wellness. All those products are using us. They obviously have tons of data. We are able to leverage to improve, to create a better product. And also we have those B2B product-led growth, usually companies. So those B2B in scale that are really focused on those, both on the conversion, trial to paid, freemium to paid, all those things, but also things like retention and feature adoption and NPS. So these kind of types of companies. And we are currently working with both publicly traded companies and also smaller startups that are using us to basically to build better product.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, we always also love to hear, what type of products you use yourself, like internally. I would assume and I think you mentioned it before, you use Loops. But like, what other tools, product management tools do you use?
Yeah. So first we use solutions like, Mixpanel Amplitude, because we also want to see the reference there. And it's good also to understand the ecosystem better. We also use Jira to manage our basically roadmap there and the sprint. We are using Talk, which is kind of an alternative for Intercom, and also Figma for our designs. I think we are actually in the process of considering kind of an in-product message to help guide our customer throughout the different features. So I think you had some episode on those.
We did, yeah.
We had a whole series for that.
Yeah, indeed. So actually, we're actually using it as we consider some of the in-product messages that we have.
Oh, nice, perfect. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get more feedback about that from us, let us know. I actually started using one of the products recently, so I can give you a bit insights on that.
I think we have the chance to experience those products from a different angle, because we actually integrate to the data of those in-product messaging. Because in some cases, some of the experiments that are launched because of our opportunities are basically launched throughout those in-product messages through like Braze, Nimplam, and other types of solutions. So we're actually able to see them in action, and we measure the results of those in-product messages that were surfaced by these platforms. So I think we are able to compare them and to see the efficiency of those platforms as well.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. No, that's really interesting, because you do get in touch with all of those systems that collect data, and it's a full ecosystem. So it's definitely there is some benefits for you to use them as well to see how it works.
Indeed, and we integrate as a platform to some of those solutions as well, because we don't manage the full workflow through Loops. Eventually, those product managers, they have their own tools to manage their workflow, and we integrate to those solutions, so we get the chance to experience them firsthand as well.
Yeah. And Moshe and I have talked about that, how important these integrations are, because that allows you to focus on what your tool is all about, and really grow your tool and what it's best at, and you can leverage what other people are doing.
I agree. I think it's part of making a much more seamless experience for the product managers. We invested a lot of time in terms of understanding where product managers spend most of their time. And based on that, we were able to prioritize the right integration to help them, make this, to make basically Loops part of this process. So once you identify an insight, an opportunity, you are able to move forward with the process of making decisions, of launching an hypothesis or an experiment, and measuring those results. So that's why those integrations are so important for us as well.
So where do you see Loops and you in the future? What are your aspirations?
Yeah, I think, if you think about the current analytics solutions out there, most of them were focused on making data available, making data accessible. That was the main focus, I think, since 2010, where we start seeing different types of product analytics solutions. And I think what we think is the next generation of analytics solution, we offer a different approach. And that's how I think about that going forward. I think when in a few years' time, when product managers want to make data-driven decision, and data can be quant, and other like different types of sources, they want to go through Loops, because it would give them, it would turn on the lights on the right opportunity, instead of just kind of landing them on various dashboards on tons of data sources and expecting them to understand what they need to do next. So I think all data-driven product decisions in a few months, hopefully, but would go through Loops.
When I was looking at the site, it looks like you can sign up for a beta.
Yeah. So first, our subscription model is based on the amount of monthly unique users that your product has. It varies between 1K a month to 6-7K a month or so, and we provide 2-month trial periods, so you can test the product first. We can show you the value first, and then we can talk about this long-term commitment.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was really, I'm fascinated by this.
Me too.
I'm always like berating myself why I didn't think about this idea before, because I had this problem. But I'm really happy that someone did this and is doing something about that. So Tom, this is really inspiring.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, we hit on all my favorite words: product analytics, machine learning, you name it. In-app messaging experiments. We covered quite a bit. Loops, it sounds like a really cool product. I love actionable analytics. I love being able to not just be data driven in theory, but actually implement it in practice. So I think what you're doing with Loops is pretty cool. Yeah,
and I invite you to kind of test this this product and see how we are able to show you. What's nice, I think, about Loops is it's really the time to value. You are able to discover new things that you didn't know about your product, about your users, about different segments. I think that's basically my favorite part, when we integrate to a new product, and we gave them access to the platform, and they finally, and they deal with this product and the data for a while, right? So they kind of feel like they know the product, but eventually we're able to kind of like share those new news with them and concrete opportunities. I think that's my favorite moment when we work with with customers. So I invite you to test this beta product yourself.
Yeah, my favorite word, I don't know if I ever mentioned that, but my favorite word is startup. So although I never had one myself, but it's still a favorite. Where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is the best place there. I'm quite active there. I'm still, I think I consider myself as a newbie on the Twitter, but you can also find me there. It's Tom Laufer, Laufer 34, Tom Laufer 34. I think these are the best areas to find me, as long as, you know, there are different product and growth communities where I try to be quite active.
Excellent. Good. And if anyone is actually connecting loops after hearing on the show here, let them know that, you know, you heard about it from Product for Product podcast. It will be cool to know that there is some you know, transfer of knowledge and also some not a referral, but it's just fun fact.
Yep.
Indeed.
So that will be very cool.
Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Moshe. It's been a pleasure, and we'll talk to all the listeners next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.